Well, hello! Today, instead of a first impression, I'd like to start out my first video on pen repair. So, I have a collection of pens. I'm not 100% sure which one is going to be repaired, or perhaps several of them will be repaired. We'll see. Let's take a look at what we have. So, this is a pen that I have already repaired and is working and was in last week's Pens in Use. There's a reason it's here. We'll get to it. But what's more important, I want you to notice something. This is my desk. This is my hand moving under my desk. Do not work on a surface with a hole. I strongly suggest, as my very first tip, I'm sorry, I'm moving the camera while I talk. I strongly suggest, as my very first tip, work in a tray or on a solid surface, somewhere where parts will not roll away or get lost. So I brought one of my more disastrous dinner plates in to use as my tray, since I normally don't work in here. But I found out where I normally work is not a good place. Alright, so what do I have here? Well, I have an Escritor, which is a Argentine brand, Escritor Juniors. I have I couldn't figure out from the outside what this is. I think there may have been some branding there at one time, but I can't read it. When I unscrew it, still no clues, but somebody had some lunch. But it does have an Escritor nib made in USA. So this seems like a potential project, but I may save this one for a resacking video. I have this is a Centropen. One of those slim black vintage pens I like. It's actually a Centropen 1320. I have a no-name, ooh, I take that back, Tylo. So a Tylo pen company, unless there's more name hidden under this price tag. Kind of definitely has seen better days. I have, finally, a Geha 712. And of course, this aromatic is one that's been here all along. So I just want to talk through some of my philosophy. So sometimes we'll look at pens, sometimes we'll look at me. This is a look at me time. So my, I said the tray. That's a very good first suggestion. One of those obvious ones you don't even think of until some part goes bouncing away and you're like, now what? So, but really it's part of a bigger theme of pen repair, what I call first do no harm. I'm pretty sure I stole that from the Hippocratic Oath or from doctors or somebody, but it's not original to me. But yeah, we're trying to restore the pens, not destroy them. Nobody is making any more of these. Nobody is making any spare parts. The more we destroy, and just over time, the more wear out, the fewer there will be. Now, admittedly, today's modern pens are tomorrow's vintage pens, but that's a story for 25 years from now. So, first, do no harm. If you're careless, if you hurry, you break things. In fact, I'm going to do something I wasn't going to do. I'm going to show you two of my failures. Both of these are from being stupid. I do keep them in bags because there is that distant hope that maybe someday. So this one has a gorgeous, gorgeous finish. I was so excited about it. And trying to get it open, I turned the piston down. I don't think the piston comes apart that way, and we'll talk about that in a future video, because I do have a video planned on pistons. And it shattered into pieces. What happens with these vintage pens is they get old, plastics get brittle, materials warp. I've got an interesting pen somewhere that's got quite a curve to it. And it may not have really been meant to be handled that way originally. So this was some kind of an Italian pen. I forget. It's an Oceans something. This other one was one I was super excited about and rushed. This is a Penal, and I kick myself because this is a gorgeous pen. The pressure bar, we'll talk about. I'll probably bring out that pressure bar as an example someday. But I mean, I do have a pen now with that finish, so that helps a little. I have a Selector, actually. But what I was struggling with is I could not get the nib and feed out. Now, I did finally. They're out. In the process, is this the nib? I don't know why there's two nibs in here. I'll just be clear on that. But in the process, I kind of twisted the nib. This was early on, you know. I'm going to talk about Dunning-Kruger here. And speaking of losing parts, oh, that was just part of the sack. Okay. I thought I lost something important. So, I have hopes for this yet. When I'm feeling a little more ambitious, I'll probably try for it. Still don't know why there's two nibs in there, though I don't remember doing that. But I was trying really hard to get that out, and somebody suggested heat. So like a dumbass, sorry, I'm going to use that word because that describes me very well. I saw a heat setting on Goulet pens. Didn't think about, oh, whoops, this is celluloid. 60-year-old or 70-year-old celluloid. So I put it right in the hot water, thinking that would loosen up the part that I was trying to get loose. It didn't. What it did do is discolor and shrink the celluloid here. So, oh, there's still something inside it. Probably bits of the sack. So, who knows if I'll ever get this section out, because that's actually what I was trying to get out. I haven't cracked that nut. So, be careful and realize that you probably will break something even though you didn't mean to. Because those are both pens I really wish I wouldn't have broken. Now, I've broken a few where it's just like, yeah, that was probably going to happen no matter who worked on it. But these are two I can lay the blame directly at my door. So first, do no harm. Second, make sure you actually do know what you're doing or that it's within your skill set. Hand me a Parker Vacuumatic. No, out of my skill set. Maybe someday, but it's not there now. Even some piston fillers are beyond my skill set. Apparently that Penal is out of my skill set too. But first, do no harm. So, sorry, I'm looking at the gain on this microphone and it was driving me crazy. So it was driving me crazy last night when I was editing another video. So I just turned it down a bit. So anyway, I would go out and do some research. Now, I'm going to put some links down below of places you can go, but I'll just list a few. Richard Binder's website is awesome. He has information on all kinds of different pens, all kinds of different facets of pen repair. He has pen repair books. Some people, you will find controversy in this pen repair world. I know I'm going to say something at some point in one of my videos where people are going to dogpile on me and say, no, 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 you ignorant fool. I know it's coming. So anyone I suggest, there's going to be controversy. Stephen Brown actually used to do a wonderful series of videos about disassembly. I found it very helpful for a few pens. Now, he mostly focuses on newer pens, but still very helpful because, hate to say it, but there isn't much innovation in the fountain pen world. So Stephen Brown is a good resource. Steph of Grand Mia Pens is another one. And again, you will find detractors for all of them. But these are good sources of information. I would also suggest be really careful. This is one I have to watch out for. Be really careful of the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is where you think you know more than you actually do. And what they tend to find is people who actually do know a lot more are usually more realistic about how much they know. So always be careful of Dunning-Kruger because it's so easy to slip into that. Well, I've restored Esterbrook, so doggone, hand me that Penal. That worked. So Yeah, always be careful of the Dunning-Kruger. If you don't know what to do, don't do it. Get somebody who knows more to do it. Or wait until your skill set is improved. I am very nervous about application of heat, and that penal has made me very gun shy about application of heat, but we will do a video on application of heat later on. Alrighty, just checking camera here. Alright, so we need to get back into pens. So sometimes pens are pretty simple to clean. Let's just take a look at this Escritor. I want to point out a couple, whoops, that was lovely. I want to point out with this Escritor, I have the feeling that this is going, oh, what the hell did I do? Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of a different pen in my brain, and I suddenly panicked there. Like, wait, there's supposed to be something in here. No, there isn't. It's here. I was thinking of a different pen that has a sack in it that I almost picked up for this video and changed my mind at the last minute. So this pen looks like it'd be pretty straightforward to clean. Looks like I'd just give it a clean. I might use the syringe or bulb filler to squeeze some water through here. I don't even think... Yeah, the nib doesn't feel too bad. That's a good test for the nib. Just run it across your fingernail. The paper, of course, is a better test. You may want to smooth it up. This one does feel a little rough on paper. You may also want one of these to analyze, is it really misaligned? May also want some light on it. Then on the other hand, this can be your enemy too, because you can see faults that you can't feel. So, it's a weapon that cuts both ways. Now, one interesting thing that was pointed out to me, sometimes, here we've got these vintage sacks, vintage cartridges. Sometimes the easiest thing to do, install the cartridge, inject it full of distilled water, let it run through the pen, and then while it's in there, it's slowly soaking into all the dried bits in the pen and soaking them out, so then I can give it a proper cleaning next. And that may actually save you doing a lot of harm. Of course, let me set the pens aside. Sometimes you actually do want to flush a pen. Now, I'm not going to do the full performance here, but soaking, flushing, those are great things. So here's this Geha. Let's zoom in just a little. This Geha 712. Now you can probably see just a bit of blue ink coming out into the water there. Okay. You gotta see this. And look at all the blue ink I'm getting out of it. So one easy pen repair sometimes is just to do that repeatedly. Usually I'm by a sink and I can run the nib under fresh water before I dip in to get more water. But that is an option. And that's a nice, easy repair. Very satisfying repair. Now, I'm not going to run this one to completion, but I will point out a couple other things with this. I will run it to completion after the video. I just don't want you watching me. Usually I will set them in here, nib down to dry. One thing worth noting, some pens can be taken apart. Now, I'll do a video on this, so this is just pointing it out. Oops, I missed. There's this little grippy deal here. With most Geha pens, the piston unit will unscrew there. Okay, and I'm not going to force it, so we'll just let her be. But that is a nice, easy way to clean out or get a pen working. Another thing, pen flush. Now, I don't like to use it. I will. It will help wash out some stuff that just won't come out of your pen. Usually it's ammonia and dish soap. And you can make your own. You want about a 10% solution or so. Don't overdo it because you have to clean it all out of the pen. But this will dissolve weirdos out of your pen. And another option, let's zoom out now so you can actually see it. Another option is an ultrasonic cleaner. So the idea is you fill it up to the line with water, and then you let her rip, and what it'll do, it sends out little pulses of sound waves that'll knock bits and pieces loose. And it's kind of amazing, you've got this pen you thought was totally clean, how much more this can clean out of it. Now the risk here is possible damage to your vintage pens. I have, with my own eyes, seen gold plating come off of vintage nibs in this thing. So that's why I said it's not necessarily my favorite way to fix a pen, but sometimes it's about the only way to just get all that hidden ink out of a pen. Because you look at a feed, and this is a fairly simple feed. There are all kinds of nooks and crannies for ink to sit in. And then remember, there's a nib sitting on here, and we've got our section here. There may be a collar. Here's a more modern one with a broken collar, actually. All kinds of places for ink to hide. I'm also just going to mention, maybe your first fill, you don't clean it out perfectly, and you fill it probably from a sample bottle, but you fill it with a safe ink, like a Parker ink or a Waterman's ink or a Lamy ink. Just one that'll be nice to the parts, but will kind of wash it out. And don't worry too hard if the ink comes out weird colors as it gets all those extra bits of ink. A good one for removing stains is actually Noodler's Rattler Eel Red. I've never read anything official about that, but that is something else that you can use, and I've had success with it. Now, what about the outside of the pen? I mean, here's this Geha, this aromatic that looks almost new. Well, weirdly, this is one I actually got in a box, so that was actually kind of special. It was in good shape. About the only thing I had to do on it is reset the nib and feed, because they were walking all over the place. But what about... how do I get that looking black like it did when it was new? And get off this corrosion? And here we get into a very controversial area of this whole topic. I, again, go back to first do no harm. So I'm a minimalist about my pen cleaning. I would prefer not to, if at all possible, mess with the outside. I will clean them. These happen to be in the bag. I don't know what that green thing is. Didn't notice that when I got it. But anyway, I will often use a polishing cloth on the outside, just with water, maybe a little soap and water. I would be really careful about using anything stronger than dish soap. Some solvents will dissolve your pen, and if you have like a casein or something, I think that's how it's pronounced, you may actually dissolve the pen in water if you leave it in the water too long. So I'm very leery of that. There are some people who swear by different types of pen polish. I bought this. This is I bought it from a pen company that sells pen repair parts. This is a polish for chrome, silver, aluminum, and brass, basically any metal. I've never used it, but I know there are people who will use pen polishes on their pen. But remember, what it's actually doing is it's actually got little particles in it, almost like really superfine sandpaper, and it is wearing down your pen. So I prefer not to. There are some people who will wax a pen. I've gotten a few that are waxed, and I really don't like the feel on my hands. Sometimes with little corrosion, you've got a small cloth like this with just a little bit of abrasion in it that you can deal with a tiny bit of corrosion. Like maybe we want this looking normal again. I have done that. This could also be used on the plastic, although I advise against it. So this may have seemed like a very basic introduction, like seriously, clean your pen. There are so many vintage pens, that's all you need to do. Clean them. Now, in future weeks, we'll get into taking them apart a little bit. We'll talk about resacking. We'll talk about J-bars and pressure bars and all those kind of things. But like I said, I wanted a nice basic introduction. So I hope this was helpful. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.